We are stepping into a several month period of Mars Mercury conjunctions that happen like 1 or 2 months after each other. There's going to be one, two, three, four, five different conjunctions between now and April of 2026 that happen pretty much in succession of each other. And that's pretty much because Mercury is going to be moving retrograde twice between now and April of 2026. And they are also resetting their relationship to each other, Mars and Mercury, which means that when Mercury moves retrograde in the sky, it hits Mars all the time, like every time it goes retrograde. Now, this is not true of every Mars Mercury cycle. It was not true of like the last cycle I believe that we are in. But I'm really, really happy about it. Why? Because Mars Mercury cycles are all about clarity and coherence. And the main reason they are about clarity and coherence is because Mars is about how we take action, and Mercury is about our mind and our thoughts. And when your mind and your thoughts are in line with how you're taking action, that is simply coherence. And so if you take nothing else from this video, take that. We're actually heading into an incredibly clear 6 months. And if anyone is going to fight me on this Mercury retrograde thing, I don't care. Okay. So yeah, this is really powerful. We already are feeling it right now. I'm recording Friday, October 17th. So this conjunction is current, right? It's happening right now, and we're going to be feeling it for several more months. The different tones will shift, over the next 6 months. However, it's that same type of clarity. The tones shift based on, I would say what else is happening in the sky, but generally speaking, what sign the conjunction is happening in, and this will be happening in like yeah, a different sign every time the conjunction happens, basically. And so what we are in right now is the Scorpio time. We have Mars and Mercury making their conjunction to each other in the sign of Scorpio. Now, here's where I was thinking recently, just earlier. I was thinking about how this is not the same type of scorpionic energy that I'm used to over the last several years. And of course, that's because Pluto, the ruler of Scorpio, is now in Aquarius for good, having just stationed direct recently. Pluto also in an incredibly favorable configuration in the sky to both Uranus and Venus right now, making this grand air trine that we really won't see again until next June of 2026, having all like a planet in all of the air signs. Essentially, we need a planet to get into Libra in order to make this grand air trine happen. And that's really not going to happen again in a big way until next summer and, into the fall. So, with that said, we're in an incredibly powerful moment right now. And the Mars Mercury conjunction is making our minds very, very sharp. So it's not only that the energy is good and that we have an opportunity and we are taking the opportunity because the kite has been there. That's another thing that's amazing right now is that this kite formation. Other than that, this conjunction also happens basically on at the same time as a new moon in Libra, just a few days after the exact conjunction, and also at the same time that Mercury goes in to its pre-retrograde shadow. Okay, so there's so many things happening here, but going back to the piece around scorpionic, right? Why it's not a normal, it doesn't feel as, to me, it's not feeling as deep as other Scorpio transits have. Actually, in 2023, we had this same conjunction between Mercury and Mars, and it also was in Scorpio. And I can tell you that's the time that I got this tattoo. This was a little stick and poke tattoo. I had one of my friends graciously do for me. I traded her something for it, but I felt it was very fitting to get a stick and poke tattoo during a Mars Mercury conjunction in Scorpio, Scorpio being that penetrative place. You think about the depths, you think about sex, drugs, and rock and roll with Scorpio and tattoos. And okay, so I'm really quite fond of this energy for having clarity and decision makings around this time in 2023. I also like quit a job. Anyway, it's there's a lot of strength, mental strength that is bolstered by being able to take right action as well. Okay. And back in 2023, Pluto was in Capricorn still during this conjunction time. And so it felt incredibly consequential. Whereas right now, Pluto's now in Aquarius for good. And things are not feeling as consequential in the same way as they have been, despite the Scorpio emphasis that we're having right now, despite the Scorpio emphasis we're going to have coming into Scorpio season at the end of this month in October. So it's really, this is probably the time that we're really beginning to lock into what Pluto and Aquarius really is all about, okay? And what I think it's all about is the mind and the existential reality that we live in, that each of us kind of has to have a guiding mindset. I won't say a guiding philosophy, but it's a guiding network. It's a guiding grasp of where we fit into humanity, where we fit into the collective consciousness, which is Aquarius. And Pluto not only wants us to have a complete death and rebirth experience within the collective, but it also wants us to find our power in the collective. And Aquarius, famously an air sign, famously somewhat detached, somewhat academic, somewhat parasocial. Aquarius ruling, Pluto and Aquarius ruling this Mercury Mars conjunction. I keep wanting to say Mars conjunction, like Mercury and Mars combined with because they're conjuncting each other. Anyway, um, Pluto and Aquarius ruling this conjunction instead of, let's say, Pluto and Capricorn, which is what we're much used to, more used to. Again, it's just not feeling as tangibly consequential in this material world. We're kind of moving into a more theoretical consequences here, which isn't to say they're not real material consequences, but they're consequences for what humanity means, what our place in humanity means. And you could say that's probably even more consequential to a certain extent because it does deal with our self-conception. It does deal with, social power. Okay. But my point here is that these are all air element qualities. These are things of the mind. But the fact that the Mars Mercury conjunction is happening in Scorpio itself does say that we are having a very strong desire. We're accessing a very strong point within a very deep part of ourselves that does want to be a part of the collective, that does know that we have quite a big journey, that we have already made the first steps into um, with this Pluto and Aquarius transit. And this Mars Mercury conjunction is simply, it's very simple. Like this is truly the threshold, I think, into the next 6 months. And it's really going to be after, I would say, like, April of 2026, we're really rocking and rolling into a new world. A lot happens like domino effects from January, February, March, but April is really when, things are going to be felt much differently. Okay. So this, to me, this conjunction that's happening is the seeding point, but it's not just this one conjunction. It is the beginning of, what did I say, like 5 different conjunctions between Mercury and Mars that will happen. So I want to show you each of these and bring them up very softly, very clearly, just so that you can kind of get a grasp of what my point is here. And a note on Mercury retrogrades, I have completely like switched my gears. I don't think it's helpful or even right or true or moral to tell people to not move forward with their lives during a Mercury retrograde. I think that you must move forward with your life almost as though Mercury was not retrograde. It has never, ever, ever helped me to be extra cautious in a Mercury retrograde. I end up missing out And I am very sure of that. Confidence is everything. Clarity of mind that we do have right now. I don't care that Mercury is going to go retrograde. I don't care that it's entering. I think all that means to me is that there's different levels of clarity that we will attain in how our thoughts and our actions are meant to be aligned over the next 6 months. Okay, so let me pull up these charts. All right, the first thing that I want to say is very much so that it's been 19 months since we last had a Mercury-Mars conjunction. This happened um, in 2024, very early on in 2024. So it's literally almost been 2 years. Um, I think that's really wild if you think about how important coherence is to moving our lives in a direction that we actually want it to move, like actually having a conscious say in what's going on. And this is a natural rhythm of things, but it got me really thinking, and I wanted to just share that like while, effectively until April of 2026, we are going to be in a time where Mercury and Mars are dancing with each other. They're very close to each other. So our thoughts and our actions are going to be they're going to be pretty close. They're not going to be super far away from each other. However, even after April of 2026, and then this can also apply for you in your own birth chart if you don't have a Mars Mercury conjunction, which most of us don't, some of us do. But what I've been thinking about is how powerful it is to really have these two in sync and how you can achieve that during a non-Mercury-Mars conjunction time is to find the midpoint between your Mercury and Mars in your chart. And if you ever have a struggle in aligning thought and action, figure out what the midpoint is between those two planets. And I'm not going to go into how to do that. You can Google around for it, or you can get a session with me and I can do that for you pretty easily. But that's really what I'm thinking, because as I, was looking into this data for this video, I'm just like, it's so powerful. Like I probably don't even need to tell you. I feel like you probably have a feeling yourself about how life is just very clear right now. Like there's a coherence between thought and action, and we are moving forward. Okay, there's several other reasons astrologically I could point to that include the grand air trine that we're having, and the grand water trine that we're having. And so these are opportunities. We have huge opportunities right now. Oops, I'm sorry. I realized my face is covering these words. But all I wrote right there was midpoint. Um, but okay, let's go and jump into this. Last January 2024. Here, if you look over on the chart here, the other half of the screen is Luna, is that chart for January 27th of 2024. And we have the Mars Mercury conjunction happening at 17 degrees of Capricorn. So important to start here because that is the last time that Mars and Mercury came conjunct to each other, which does tell us something about where we are right now. October 19th, basically on October 19th, Mars and Mercury reset themselves. Whenever you get a conjunction between two planets, they reset their relationship to each other, which has two distinct phases. It's a completion and then a beginning phase. And the completion happens right before the exact conjunction, which would be like where we are right now at the time of recording. So the 17th of October, basically up until October 19th, we're in this completion phase. And then I'll show you again how this is just going to keep playing out every time here because we have all these new conjunctions happening. But on October 19th, we'll be in a new phase conjunction, which has a totally, what happens on October 19th is that we get a new seed, we get a new intention. But until October 19th, we're in the very end of this intention that happened in January of 2024, which is this chart in Capricorn. And I'm not bringing up the rest of the chart. I just wanted to show you that it's in Capricorn. Okay, so there's something here around our purpose. There's something here that we started. We had some clarity and coherence around our thoughts and our actions early 2024 about what our purpose was or is. And I think it's been a pretty grueling 19 months. Okay. So it's, we're coming to the end of this, and we're starting it again. And, whatever you're in, whatever was going on back in January, to January 27th of 2024, whatever the clarity you had in your thought and your action was, um, it doesn't mean you have to hold on to it now, but it's just to say we are kind of like keeping that spiral going of the same thing, because if I think back to that time, January 2024, um, just because these two planets were conjunct, it's not like I had complete clarity of my purpose. I don't think anyone can ever have complete clarity of your purpose. I'm saying purpose because Capricorn is really about your purpose. It's about the long-term process of maturation that your life's going to take. And so in that sense, it might not be like this conjunction is Cat and Capricorn is more like what are we using our entire life to do? What is the long-term vision? Which means, it's not to say that just because this conjunction is coming to an end that we should have finished something really big and made a big goal complete that began at the end of January, if you know what I'm saying. Okay. So let's move over to this chart for October 19th. All right. We see it's in Scorpio. And, you know, there's a few things important about Scorpio. I think I touched on them more at the beginning of the video, but Scorpio is a Pluto-ruled sign, and this is the depths, and this is the deepest desire of what we want. This is the deepest expression of what we can say and what we can do. And so there is a powerful coherence that we have right now, in resetting how we take action on our deepest desire, on getting what we want. This is, again, just about your soul, okay? Actually, earlier in 2023, we had a Mars Mercury conjunction happen in the sign of Scorpio as well. And I just wanted to say that because that's when I got my stick and poke tattoo of Mercury on my finger. Mercury or Scorpio is penetrating. And if you think about sex, drugs, rock and roll, tattoos, this type of stuff, a Mars Mercury conjunction is a very good time, I think, to get a tattoo because you are like literally inking something into your body through like penetrating the layers of your skin, basically. Okay. And so goes without saying, this is also can be just a very intense time to be very sensitive and to be wanting to communicate with others from a place of trust, like deep trust and deep bonding, sensually, sexually, creatively. But this is like about secrets or something. This is not easy. I will say though, I think earlier in the video I said this is ruled by Pluto, but Pluto's in Aquarius right now. So it's not as heavy as Pluto has been when Pluto was in Capricorn. And it was more about like material consequences. Pluto in Aquarius is like humanitarian consequences. It's like um, the alignment of our thought and our actions right now are changing, are basically helping us get further in our definition of what humanity is, not necessarily like, in when everything was in Capricorn until now. It's just much more heavy. It was just more about like the material manifestation of all these things. And now that Pluto's in Aquarius, it's more about our minds. It's more about our technology and our intelligence and the way that we come together as people. Okay, so like here's the thing though, not even a month later, almost no, over a month later, November 17th, sorry, November 12th, we have another Mars Mercury conjunction. But this time we see that, oops, It's obviously it is no, it is November 12th, sorry. This time we see that Mercury's retrograde. Okay, so Mercury basically went all the way, like they both conjuncted in Scorpio, and then they both made their way into Sagittarius over that month in between, that first conjunction. And then Mercury actually stations direct very close to Mars. And so there's going to be something about communicating our beliefs in Sagittarius. Sagittarius is all about like the bigger picture, freedom, beliefs. And when Mercury is in Sagittarius, it can be kind of interesting because Mercury wants to get a good grip on data, but Sagittarius like just wants to can't like what's this saying, seeing the forest for the trees? Like Sagittarius is the forest and Mercury is like the individual trees. So when Mercury's in Sagittarius, we can feel sometimes kind of overwhelmed, like we're trying to use entire stories as words. Like we're trying to use a very complicated book. We're trying to boil it down into one thing and anyway, it's not I don't really work with fall or detriment or exaltation or anything. This is a very symbolic like the symbols, right? A symbol just like astrological symbols, right? Carry many, many meanings within them. We have the agreed upon consensus meaning of the symbols. But many like the way I'm going to describe Mercury is not going to be the exact same way that everyone else describes word Mercury. There'll be many ways that our ideas overlap, but ultimately the symbols are just focusing points for something greater, like some greater ideal or a belief, which is Sagittarius. So anyway, this conjunction that happens on November 12th while Mercury is retrograde is kind of saying, let me like be in my process. A Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius is very much so about being in a process of exploration where you don't need to be doing things right all the time. And Mars being there is going to say, like, I own it. Like, I'm very aware, I'm very conscious. I know that I'm taking action to maybe even go backwards, right? But I don't actually think we're going to feel like we're doing anything wrong. I think we're going to feel like we're working something out. Okay. And that's kind of because it's, again, not going to be just 2 months later that we have another conjunction of Mercury and Mars in, let's see, January 17th, Capricorn again. Capricorn again. So this brings us, like, whatever the work we're doing, um, at Mercury retrograde conjunct Mars on November 12th in Sagittarius, whatever process we're figuring out at that point is going to bring us into a very clear um, understanding of what our purpose is with Capricorn here. And I know that I up here when I talked about Capricorn up here, um, you know, it felt a little bit different, right? 2024 into 2025 has been crazy because we had Pluto leaving Capricorn. And so what a purpose was, what our work was has been very volatile. Like what's the meaning? What can we stand on? Do we actually have solid ground to stand on or not? That's Pluto, I mean, leaving Capricorn. But now next year, 2026, January, Pluto is not in Capricorn anymore and it won't have been in Capricorn for quite some time now. And not only that, but this month of January, we have like a huge pileup in in Capricorn, huge conjunctions between Venus, Mars, Sun, Mercury, and then once that Capricorn season is over, um, everything's going to go into Aquarius and past Pluto. So this January period is going to be huge. And the fact that we're also getting a Mercury Mars conjunction at that time is amazing to me. I mean, there's so much clarity that we get. Um, and then it's kind of interesting because just again, another 2 months later in March, um, we get another conjunction. And that's because Mercury's going to have gone retrograde again. Okay, March 10th. Oh, 15th. Sorry. I got a lot of numbers going on there, don't I? March 15th. This is going to be an interesting, I don't know where did my chart go? Um, this is going to be an interesting time in March. Um, because actually, again, it's not on the screen, but this conjunction is just within a few degrees of the North Node, um, which, and I think it's going to be around an eclipse at this time. Mercury is retrograde at this point, but there's still this desire to take action on our ideals, on our thoughts that are connecting us to not only just like our dreams in Pisces here, but like the dreams that are bringing us towards the future, because the North Node is really right there. I think the North Node's at 8 degrees at this point. And I think it's really cool. It's very powerful. Um, but it is a little bit, Mercury in Pisces is kind of like Mercury in Sagittarius. There's this like Pisces is famously unbounded. Like you can't really do anything, and Pisces almost doesn't exist. And so when you try to bring a mercurial rationalization to a place that doesn't exist, like what you get is really good poetry, okay? That's what you get with Mercury in Pisces. Or like I love to say, Mercury in Myces. Um, but yeah, so and then we're not even done because it's like 1 month later that we have a whole nother one, April 20th. Maybe that's a little, yeah, it's about a month. We have another Mars Mercury conjunction, and it's happening in Aries with Saturn. Okay, Saturn is right there at like 9 degrees, or it's maybe actually I think it's 8 degrees of Aries at that point. By the way, my friends, this is my Saturn return in April of 2026, so wish me luck. But very cool, right? Because Mars is going to be at home in Aries. So Mars is going to be ruling Mercury at this point. And that's cool. There's a very, very strong with Saturn there. There's a renewal of a commitment that we're not only acting on in our integrity too, because Saturn is there, but we're also talking the walk. Like we're walking the talk, we're talking the walk, we're like very committed to whatever it is that we are doing and whatever it is that we are recommitting to in April of 2026. And then if you see here, I mean it, because it's not going to be another 20 months that we get another Mercury Mars conjunction. Not until January 9th of 2028. I'm not even going to pull that chart up. But do you see how this goes? Like we went from last January 2024 till now, October, late October, and that was about 19 months. We went 19 months without a Mercury Mars conjunction. Um, or rather, we've been in this cycle for 19 months with very little uh, of course they've had oppositions and squares and trines and whatnot, but that's like a long time. Whereas from October 9th moving forward here, every month or two, we are going to reset our thoughts and our actions. And it all builds up until April of 2026, which, by the way, at this point, Saturn is now crossed Neptune. So, how we're taking responsibility for our personal truth, we get a whole new. This is really huge. This is February. Where's my pen? This is February 21st of 2026, the Saturn Neptune conjunction. I should make a whole video about that. Um, but basically, like, there's so much, you know, once we hit April of 2026, we are really, really beginning something here. and it's going to take us 20 months to get another Mars Mercury conjunction. It'll be at in Aquarius, which at that point will be somewhat close to Pluto as well. So, yeah, that's what I wanted to say. I hope it's interesting. I find it really interesting that we're just going to be having one, two, three, four, one, two, three, four, five, like five different conjunctions within like between now and April of 2026. And I just love it because this feeling of like Mercury or sorry, Mars and Mercury when they come conjunct is a very satisfying feeling because again, it's like it's the peak expression of coherence to me. And even though this retrogradation that we'll have a few of these times, um, I'm again very over any advice that ever tells you to reconsider your impulse during a Mercury retrograde. It happens so often and so regularly that what happens if you second guess yourself during a Mercury retrograde is that you double confuse yourself because you know what you need to do and sometimes you need to do things in order to figure out that you need to do something else. Whereas all of these people who say just like put off your decision during Mercury retrograde till Mercury direct or Mercury post shadow, I think that's the dumbest thing. I think it's so dumb. But you're talking to me. You're talking to me. I am an Aries Saturn. I'm an Aries South node. And so I like to take action on things. But yeah, that's what I think I have. I hope this has been helpful and interesting. Let me know if you have any questions. Let me know if I missed out on anything really big, if there's anything you want me to go over more specifically in more detail on any of these charts. But yeah, thanks and bye.